Hello students, so today we will learn about get and post method in PHP. So before we actually jump into the programming example of get and post method, we need to understand what is get and what is post. What are these two variables in PHP? And I'll also explain how to set up the running environment, or how to set up the environment to run a PHP program in your web browser. I'll explain all the steps. So we'll start understanding the get and post method with the help of this PowerPoint presentation. So what actually is get method? So get and post, both of this method are basically used to send some information from HTML created page where you have some text box, right? You will enter some information, and when you submit those informations are going to go into a server. You have to understand one thing first, that PHP is a server-side scripting language. So in order to run PHP programs, you need to send the information to a server. So obviously we are running it in our own personal machine. So in order to create a server-like environment, we have to install a kind of a server which will behave like a remote server, but it is actually installed in our machine. So this get method and the post method, both of them are used to send information to the server. In our case, the server will be like Apache server, right? So for what is the difference between these two methods, get and post? So the get methods basically sends the encoded user information appended to the page request. So when you are submitting the submit button, right, automatically all the informations that are entered in your text box will be sent to the server. And when they are sent using the get method, right, those informations are separated by this question mark character. That means the URL, if you look at the browser URL, I'll show it to you, you will see that the page address is separated. The page address and the content of the page which is sent to the browser, these two informations are separated by a question mark character. So now the get method actually produces a long string that appears in your server logs, because the get method also shows the information that are being sent to the server in the URL of the browser. So that means whatever that you are sending from your HTML web page to the server, all the informations will be shown in the URL of the browser as well. And all the information, if there are like multiple text boxes in your HTML, then all those information will be appended using a ampersand character. So the get method is restricted to send up to 1024 characters only, which is a very important difference to understand with respect to post method. And we should never use get method if we want to send some sensitive information like password or PIN of a certain like ATM card or something like that, because the information is easily visible in the URL of the browser. So you don't want your password to be visible in the URL so that others can also see. So for that case, we should not be using get method if you are really interested in sending some sensitive information to the server. So get can't be used to send binary data like images or Word documents. So again, this is another disadvantage where you will be not interested to send a get method, or where you will not be interested in using the get method to send all these binary data. And this entire data will be sent by the get method and can be accessed using a query string. So how to access the information that are sent to the server using the get method in PHP, that I will show in the PHP programming example itself. So when we actually write the PHP program after receiving the query from the HTML web page to the server, now the server's responsibility is to extract each and every information that is being sent by the HTML web page. So in order to do that, all the information that you have sent using get method to the server are actually stored into an array which is known as associative array, and that is $get associative array. So then it becomes a get variable, right? $_get variable, and this variable is not just simply a variable, this is an associative array. So this associative array will be helping us to extract each and every information or each and every every field that we have sent from the HTML web page to a or HTML web page, or you can say that it's a form that you have designed from that particular form to the server. So in that server, we are going to use this particular $_get associative array in order to extract each and every information. And how we are going to do that, again we'll learn that in the programming example. So now if we go to the post method, then the post method transfers the information via HTTP headers, right? So you know what are HTTP headers. So this is obviously one protocol. So if it is using one protocol, so obviously then it is actually more secured and more reliable as compared to the get method. So the post method does not have any restriction on the data size to be sent. If you remember that the get method can only send a maximum of 1024 characters, but in post method you don't have such restrictions at all. Again, the post method can be used to send ASCII characters as well as binary data. So you can send images, you can send PDF files, you can send video files, whatever you want, you can send that. The data sent by the post method goes through the HTTP header, so security depends on the HTTP protocol. So when the security is on the HTTP protocol, the HTTP protocol will ensure that your information is not displayed on the URL of that particular browser, which will actually happen in case of a get method. So if you are sending the same form information designed in HTML to the server using post method, now the information that we are sending to the server will not be displayed on the URL. So obviously the information are now more secured and you can send the information to the server in a more reliable way. So again, after going or after the information is actually transferred or transmitted to the server, now it is the responsibility of the server side scripting to extract all these informations. And again, if you are going to extract all this information, you can use this particular array, which is $_post. Since we have used the post method, we will be using the variable $_post, and if you are using the get method, then we will be using $_get. So both of these variables are like associative array, which will help us to extract the fields or the informations which are sent from the from that particular form designed using HTML to the server, right? So this was the basic description or the basic difference between these two different types of method, get and post. I hope this method or the concept of get and post method is now clear. So now we can actually head on to the next part, and that is to show you that how this get and post method can be actually implemented in a web browser using XAMPP. So first of all, you need to install a XAMPP software, right? You need to install XAMPP software, and after you install XAMPP software, when you double click on the XAMPP XAMPP icon, this particular control panel will open. And ensure one thing, that when you are opening the XAMPP control panel, open using administrator, or open this or run this particular app as an administrator, right? It is like helpful, because every time whenever you are actually starting a particular service or stopping a particular service, if it is opened or run as an administrator, it will not ask the permission to it will not ask the permission from the administrator every time, that whether you really need to stop it or whether you really need to start it. So if you just open it without as an administrator, or if you're running this particular XAMPP control panel without an administrator or not as an administrator, then obviously it is going to take the permission every time. But if you run this particular software using an administrator, then obviously these permissions are not going to come. So I have obviously run this using administrator, and you can see that there are a whole lot of softwares, and the ones which are which is checked using green color, these are the ones which are installed in my system, and the ones which are like crossed, the one which is like a red cross sign, these are the ones which are not installed in my system, and we don't need them as well right now. So what we need right now is Apache server, because this Apache server will act like a remote server for our PHP code. So we need to start this particular server. So we are going to start this. So you can see that there is a start button, and we are just going to start this. You have to wait. You will see all the proceedings are written over here. So attempting to start Apache service, if you note here, attempting to start Apache service, status change detected, running. So that means the Apache server is now running properly. And if it is like, if you can see this Apache word is now highlighted in green color, that means it is running successfully. So the port that is being used by default by the XAMPP control panel for the Apache server is generally 80. And if it is like 80 port, then you don't have to do anything else while you're running the PHP programs in your browser. But if it is not, if you're not able to use the default port, which is 80 assigned to the Apache server, then you need to change the port number. So in my case, I have to change the port number to from 80 to 8080, right? So if I'll show both of the cases, right? So now after you have started the Apache server, minimize this particular application, don't close it, and then go to your browser. So I'm using Microsoft Edge. You can use any of your browser, doesn't matter. So I'm just going to click on a new tab, and over here I'm going to write localhost, and then I'm going to put 8080 as my port number. Since I have not used the default port number of XAMPP, which is 80, so I have to mention the port number explicitly in my case. But if you are using the default port number, then this thing will actually work. Localhost and then enter. You're going to just put, you're just going to hit enter after writing localhost. But if you have changed your port ID from the default one to a new customized one, like in my case, then you have to supply the port number by separating the localhost and the port number by a colon. So localhost, then give a colon and then 8080 and then hit enter. So if this particular page opens, then you can understand that this particular page is a page that is being fetched from the Apache server directly. And if this particular page opens, then you will be able to ensure that yes, my Apache server is running successfully. So the browser is sending some request to the Apache server, and the Apache server will default open this particular dashboard front page, which will help us to ensure that yes, the Apache server is currently running properly. All right. So now you need to understand that when you are running PHP programs using XAMPP in your browser, you just cannot save your PHP programs anywhere in your computer. So for that, you need to understand that wherever you install your PHP, you need to, so I'll just close it and open my folder apps, and you need to go to that particular page where you have installed your XAMPP. So I've installed my XAMPP in C drive. So you can see that the folder is over here, the XAMPP. Double click the XAMPP folder and you're inside the XAMPP folder, and you will find there is a folder called htdocs. So you can see htdocs is the folder that you need to double click on it. And when you double click on it, whatever program that you're going to run using Apache server, using XAMPP control panel in your browser, you are going to save those PHP programs right in this location. You cannot save it anywhere else, right? You cannot save it anywhere else. So in my case, what I'm going to do is that I have created one folder tutorial. Right, I've created one folder tutorial, and inside that particular tutorial folder, I have created two different files. One is get.php and another one is post.php. Obviously, I'm going to show you the content of this particular source code as well, so that you will be able to understand what I have done. So this is the basic thing that you need to do first, that you need to save your content inside the htdocs. That is the most important thing, right? You're going to save your information inside htdocs. Otherwise, the server will not be able to detect the location. You cannot just customize your location and run it from anywhere you want from your browser. It is not going to happen, right? So now what we are going to do, we are going to see that if these two files are really, or can be really accessed from my browser or not. So what we do is that we'll go to the browser again and we'll try to edit the URL now. And when we write localhost colon 8080, it means it is now directly in control of the htdocs. Now, if you just click enter on it, it will display all the contents that are inside the htdocs folder. But I'm not interested in displaying all the contents that are inside the htdocs. I'm interested in a folder which is known as tutorial. If you remember that I have stored my entire content into a folder called tutorial. So what I will do here is that I will write tutorial, all right, and I'll hit enter. So when I hit enter, see the tutorial folder contains two files, get.php and post.php. I can click any one of them and I can run my file as PHP program. So this is one way of doing it. Otherwise, the other way is that you can specify the entire path, including the name of the file, like localhost :8080 slash tutorial slash get.php. Then only the get.php will run directly. So these are the different ways of running the file, and the most important one is to, again, I'm just going to repeat this again, that you need to save this particular file in your htdocs. That is very, very important, right? So now I'm going to my Visual Studio Code and here I'll try to open the folder of tutorial. So I'll go to the C drive again. I'll go to the C drive and I will go to XAMPP. I will go to htdocs and I'll click tutorial and select folder. So this will help us to open the contents inside the select folder, and I have two different programs, get.php and post.php. So you can see this is the get.php file and this is the post.php file. So I'll just go with the get.php first and then I'll come to the post.php. So over here what I have done is that I have written one small simple code snippet of HTML. So what is this? HTML body, form. I'm coming to all these things, right? You know what are this HTML body, what is this form, right? You don't know about action, right? Action, method, whatever that is written over here, we are going to discuss about that. After this, we have just created a name which is acting like a label in our case, and I'm sorry. And the name thing is stored in a text box. The value of the name is stored in a text box, and the age is also stored in a text box, right? And then we have a button which is of type submit. You have to ensure that it is of type submit and not button. It has to be type equal to submit if you are going to submit all the information which you have entered in the text box to a local server. So for that, it has to be of type submit, right? Now coming to this part, action. So action means that if this particular button is clicked, if someone clicks on this submit button, which is captioned as submit now, if someone clicks on this button which is captioned as submit now, then what is going to happen? The action that is going to take place is that this is the way that we mention a PHP code snippet, right? PHP code snippet. So we start with this angular bracket, right? Angular bracket, then question mark, and then PHP. So this means that when this particular browser encounters something like this, then it understands that this part is a PHP code. This is the starting of a PHP code or PHP statement, right? And it ends with question mark and this closing angular bracket. This is the open angular bracket, this is the closing angular bracket, and inside it I have written one thing, and that is $_PHP self. So that means that the PHP code for this particular HTML is written in this source code itself. So that's why I've written PHP self. See, the PHP code is written in the same source code or in the same file where the HTML or the form designing has been done. Both are in the same file. So since they are in the same file, so we have written $_PHP self. If you want to write this in a different file, then you will mention the name of the file. You know already that if you're going to attach some CSS to your HTML content, you can do it in three ways. One is to attach that inline to a HTML statement, or you can write a separate CSS code under the head tag, or you can store the CSS in a separate file as well, right? You can store that in a separate file as well. So in all the three cases, we have three different options. So over here also, if I need to run my PHP, I can do it in three ways. The first one is that I can embed my PHP code directly into the HTML statement, right? Which we don't need right now, or we are not interested to see that thing right now. The second way is to write the PHP code in a separate file, and after writing action equal to, within double quotes, we are going to mention the name of that particular PHP file. Obviously, the HTML file and the PHP file should be in the same folder, right? So the name of the PHP file will then be mentioned over here. The entire thing, this will be replaced. This entire angular brackets will be replaced with the name of the PHP file in that case. But since we have written the PHP code directly over here itself, so we have written PHP self. That means the PHP code is in the same file where the HTML code is, right? And then afterwards give a space and then write method equal to get within double quotes, right? So when you write method equal to get, that means you are going to use the get method in order to transmit the information from the browser to the server. So now this part completes whatever explanation that is required. I have completed my explanation regarding this part. Coming to the PHP part. So when you're going to write the PHP code, so you have to start it using this way, right? Opening angular bracket question mark PHP. I've already told for this one as well. And when you end the PHP segment, then you have to use it like this way, the question mark and angular bracket, closing angular bracket. Then I have used one simple syntax like if is set. So when you're writing is set is a kind of a function which checks whether that particular thing or whether that particular variable exists and it is not equal to null. So if I'm using this particular function, I want to see that whether the information that I am fetching from the server, from that URL or from that particular page which has requested to the server, whether that particular information exists and is not equal to null. So I'm checking, indirectly I'm checking whether the content is there or not, whether the content is entered into the text box or not, right? So, and then again I've used is set for this one as well. So what are these? Text box and age. So if you go and look into the name, you will see that I have used one property or I've used one attribute which is name, and I've given text box. The name of this particular text box is text box, TXTBOX, and the name of this age field is named as age, right? So you can access these text boxes using the name attribute, whatever value that you have given to the name attribute of that particular control in your PHP. So over here what we're going to do is that $_get within double quotes text box. That means we are trying to access the content which is inside this particular text box, right? Which is inside this particular text box. And when we are writing $get age, that means we are trying to access the content inside this particular text box, right? That's it. So now if these two things are true, right? If the is set is true and the is set for the age and the text box is true, that means we are going to get inside this particular function or inside this particular if body, the body of the if. So this is OR symbol. You know what is this? This is an OR symbol, and inside this we have written echo welcome. So you know how to write all these things, right? Welcome, and then this dot operator is used as a concatenation operator, and I want to concatenate $get text box, the content of the text box, and then again dot, and then I'm writing a BR statement which is like break line, right? And then again echo UR. So whatever the age that you have entered in the text box, that will be shown. So this is a very simple program, and we need to understand how this program actually works in the browser. So we'll go to the browser and we will enter get.php. We have selected get.php. So here see the form. We have actually designed a very simple form. We are not interested in designing with all the different kind of CSS things. So we just want to understand how the things are working. In the name field, if I supply like XYZ, and in the age field, if I supply like 65, then if I click on submit now, then I will see that I am giving this, I'm shown with this message, welcome XYZ, you are 65 years old. So if you see that is what we have written in the echo statement, welcome, and then concatenation $get text box. So we have written the content of the text box as XYZ. So that's why it is displaying welcome XYZ, and we have written in the age field as 65. So that is why it's showing you are 65 years old. So that is what is being displayed here. And if you closely observe the URL, you will see that localhost get.php. This is the path name of the entire file from where you are actually dealing with all the things. You have written your source code, you have written your PHP, and then after that the information that you are submitting to the server is written, and in between this there is a question mark. I have already told there will be a question mark which is separating these two different contents. So now you see that text box equal to XYZ and ampersand age equal to 65. You can see this clearly, right? So if you cannot, I'll just open a notepad and I'll just show it to you that how is it actually looking. So you can see that this is the thing that is being written. So you can see the question mark clearly over here, and the text box content is shown over here, as well as the age is also shown. So if you are sending some sensitive information like password or pin, then obviously this is not going to this is not the thing that you will be using, right? So this is how this get PHP actually works. Now if I come to my post PHP, right, if I come to post PHP, so the post PHP also is same. There is no difference in the designing of the form. Only the thing that is being changed is that the method is equal to post. See, since the code for the PHP is again written in the same source, in the same place where we have written HTML, so that's why it is written $_PHP self, like it was written for get.php, right? And instead of writing get, we are using now post. This is the only difference. The designing of the form is exactly the same, nothing, no difference. Only the name, I have changed it to name, and the age I have kept it same as age. That's the only thing. If you can keep that text box as well, what we have done for get.php, doesn't matter. And for the same here we have done the same thing is set, but instead of using $_get, we are using $_post. Again, over here we are going to use $_post. Rest of the things are exactly the same. So in this case, we are using the post method in order to fetch the items, and that's it, nothing. You will see the execution difference as well in the browser. So we'll go to the browser again, we will click on back, and we can see that there is a post.php. So we'll click on post.php, and now the same form design, there is no fancy things right over here. YZ as the name, and this age field I'm going to write it as 65. So now if I'm going to submit now, you will see the change. See, the entire thing is now returned in a new page. This entire thing is now written in a new page. Previously, the get method used to return the message in the same web page where my HTML designing was there, right? The form designing and the content which is returned from the server is on the same page. You can see both of them. But in this case, the form designing is gone, and this particular response from the server is returned into a new page, right? And you can see in the URL, you don't see any information that you have sent through your web browser, right? When you're clicking on submit button, see, no informations are displayed on the URL. So this is much more secure because it is using the HTTP headers. So obviously if it's using the HTTP protocol, so it's again very secure and you can rely on those protocols. So this is the only difference between the get and post. In this way, you can accept input. So like if they say you that you need to accept a number n and you need to test whether the number is prime or not. So in that case, you're going to just design a typical form like this. A typical form like name, instead of name you can just write enter a number and then give a text box, and whatever the user enters over there, that will be submitted to the server, and you will receive it in this way. $_post name. And when you receive it in this way, you are just going to work with the remaining PHP code. If you are not going to run that using PHP command line interface, if you want to run it using a web browser, then you can use it in this way. So you're going to accept the input in the text box and you're going to run that in the server, and the output will be shown in the web browser. So this is how the get and post PHP work. I hope I am able to make you understand the difference between get and post method. Thank you so much.